Good morning, grade fives. This morning we are going to tackle an art project that is very spring-like. When we think of spring, we think of April showers bring May flowers. And when I think about flowers here in Alberta, the flower that we see, probably our first flower that we see in the springtime, the first flower that comes to mind is dandelions. So today we are going to do a dandelion project. We're going to gather our supplies. You need your art paper, and I'm using a half sheet of art paper. So it's 6 by 9. You can use any size that you like. I suggest a white or a light colored background. Construction paper works, drawing paper works, whichever you like. You're going to need your wax crayons. If you have oil pastels at home, you could use oil pastels. And you're going to want some dandelion colors, so you're going to want some yellows, you're going to want some greens, you're going to need a white, you're going to want some type of a brown, or in this case I'm using a brick red kind of color to use as well. You're going to need your paintbrush, you're going to need your watercolors and water, and you're going to want some salt. So gather your supplies and we will begin in just a moment. Okay, you've gathered your supplies, let's begin. To start with, we're going to begin with our kind of reddish brown. In this case, I'm using the brick red. If I think about dandelions, their stems aren't really brown, they aren't really white. They have that reddish pinkish tone to them. So I'm going to use brick red. I'm going to start with the stems for the flowers. And again, we're going to think odd numbers. So I'm going to start with just a stem to the middle. I'm going to do maybe 5 dandelions is all I'm going to do. So I've started with my stems. Then I'm going to think about my next step is I'm going to add my leaves. And we know that dandelions' leaves are not smoothed edge. They have a little bit of a jagged edge and they can be quite long and big. So I'm just going to start at the top of my leaf and I'm just going to kind of scallop and jag an edge. Ooh, not the best, but that's quite all right, of my leaf. I'm going to put the center up, and again I'm using this reddish brown. I haven't changed for my outline. I'm going to switch to a green in a minute, and I'm going to add another leaf, kind of balance on this side. Kind of a jagged edge leaf, doesn't have to be perfect, long and spiky. I'm going to put one in the middle. Doesn't matter if I'm going over the stems. Got 3. Well, maybe a little short one, fill in the space here. I'm going to put kind of one in here, and then I'm done. Now I'm going to switch to, I'm going to do my leaves first. So I'm going to take a dark green. I want to use a dark green, and I'm just going to add the dark green to my leaves. Again, don't have to be perfect. I'm going to color my leaves. I like that green. I'm going to add, oh, here's a little bit of a olive green. I'm going to just add in. I'm not coloring them solid. I'm just kind of filling them in with green. Again, I'm going to go to my next one, fill it in, add some dark green to it. Fill it in a little bit. Oh, I mean, like what do they call this? Ooh, what have I got? Forest green. I'm just going to color my leaf, and I'm going to do the same thing to the others. Not being fussy, not being precise, just adding that dark green to my leaves so that I can see them. I think I want the edge just a little more pronounced. Now we're going to wash this with watercolor when we are finished drawing our dandelions. So don't need to be precise. Add a little more shades of some different greens in here. Add just some different greens. All right, next is going to be our dandelions. Now some dandelions are yellow, but some are white. I'm going to start with the yellow ones, and I'm going to decide how many yellow dandelions I want. So I think I'm going to do 3 yellows and 2 whites. So to do our dandelion, this is where the patience is going to come in. I'm taking my dark yellowy gold color, and I'm going to start with just a dot. And then I'm going to very patiently come out from the center of the dot. I'm going to keep adding lines coming out from the center. And I want to lift my crayon every time until I get almost like a yellow pom-pom. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the other ones as well. This one's going to be yellow, and I think this one's going to be yellow. All right, so you go ahead, do your yellow dandelions. Okay, my yellow dandelions are done, and I'm liking them. They look pretty good. Now we're going to do the white ones, and this one's going to be hard to see because I'm going to use my white crayon on white paper. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start with a dot. I know you can't see it. I might put just a tiny little bit of pinkish in it, just because the center of the dandelion is pink. Pardon me. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm not going to do as many lines. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of the center. I know you can't see them, pardon me, but they're there. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other one the same way. I'm going to make my dot, add a little bit of pink to the center, and I'm going to do 9 odd numbers. 6, 7, 8, 9. And there I'm going to stop. Okay, so now I've got my 2 white dandelions that you can't see. I've got my 3 yellow ones, and that's where we're going to stop with our crayons. Next, you need your watercolors out. You need your water. You need your brush nice and wet. And we are going to wash the whole thing with, I'm going to use shades of green. Because my leaves are quite dark, I'm going to use my lighter greens, and they're watercolor. I want things nice and wet. I'm going to load my brush with lots of paint, get it nice and wet. I'm going to use the lighter green, so I'm going to actually get kind of blend. Doesn't matter what I've got on my brush. I'm going to just blend those together, get nice and wet. I'm going to have my salt handy and ready to go for when I need it. And I'm going to just wash my page. So I'm using a flat brush, and I'm just going to use those greens, and I'm going to wash my whole page. Now, when I get to a white one, and I see I have a white one done, I'm going to add a little bit of dark in there just to make the white stand out a little bit more. I'm going to put a little bit of salt. I'm going to put just a little bit of salt, pinch of salt, on that white dandelion. And then I'm going to remember not to paint over that white dandelion again. All right, and then I'm going to do the rest. Again, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Don't matter, my greens are the same. And I'm just going to keep my brush really wet, paint really watery, and I'm just going to do my whole background. You can use a different color if you want. If you want to do your background pink, do your background pink. If you want to do your background blue, do your background blue. I chose green for spring, and there I did my other white one. So I'm going to add a little salt, another pinch of salt to the white one. And I'm going to soak up that watercolor and give us a little bit of a different effect. there. All right, and I'm gonna keep going, keep mixing. Oh, I like that, it's a pretty color. I'm gonna get a little darker as I go down my page, just because. And I'm going to wash the whole page. Oop. Brush a little wetter, and I'm gonna wash my page. Right. And there, I'm going to stop. I'm going to let that salt do its thing. I might put a little bit more on. And put a little bit more on those white ones so it really soaks up. And I'm going to let my picture dry. And I'll be back when it is dry. Okay, so now my background is dry. I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to brush that salt off my white ones, because I don't want the salt on the page. And if I look closely, maybe you can't see it on the camera, but if you look closely now, I've got these nice little water spots absorbed around my white dandelions. And I'm going to take a look at it, and I'm going to just add a couple more things to my picture before I'm going to call it done. I'm going to take a very fine tip white paintbrush, and I'm going to use my white paint, and I want to load a lot of paint on it. And then I'm going to add what they call little stamens. So I'm taking a look at my white flower, and at the end of each one, I'm going to add a little X. Now, you can do this with your white brush if you have a nice fine tip white brush, or you can continue to do it again with your wax crayon. And I'm just going to add a little X. Oops, my paper is not quite dry for that wax crayon to show up. So I'm going to keep going with my white brush. I know you can hardly see these probably on camera, but I'm just going to add a little extra parachute. If you think about those white dandelions that have gone to seed, when you pull them apart, they've got that little kind of parachute looking top to them. So I'm just going to add the parachute part to the top. I'm just going to put a little X on the ends each, on the end of each one. Oops, a little bit of salt there still. I'm going to just take my white paint and add. And I say, they might be hard to see on camera. They're very small and light. Don't want great big ones. And I'm just going to put the top on each one. Okay, I finished adding the top. And I look at mine and I kind of like that. I think I'm okay with that. But I'm just going to add, I'm going to take my brown, and I just want to add a little bit to my base here. I'm not going to draw a line, but I'm just going to kind of define the ground. And I'm just going to put a little bit detail at the bottom just to show that that's the ground. And I take a look at it and I go, yeah, I like that. I'm good with that. And of course, add my artist signature to the bottom corner, and I am done. There is my dandelion art project. I hope you enjoy doing yours.